Let's talk about Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. They have lost their last 3 games, and it's official. This team has hit a wall, and more than likely they will miss the NFL playoffs because they got swept by the Seattle Seahawks. And 2 of their last 3 games, they lost to the Seattle Seahawks. But how do we get to this point? This was just a team 5 weeks ago that led this division. Well, a lot of it is because his offensive line is completely terrible. Besides Paris Johnson Jr., they don't have a good offensive lineman on this roster. I look at Jonah Williams at the right tackle position. He's not a true starting tackle in the NFL, and neither is Kevin Beachum. And I look at the interior position with the Arizona Cardinals from the left guard position all the way to the right guard position. They're not good players, because if they were, Kyler Murray would have more time in the pocket and he could fully see the field. And I'm not saying that because he's an undersized quarterback. Kyler Murray was the #1 quarterback against pressure at the beginning point of this season. He has dealt with pressure this entire year, and it's not coming off the left side, it's coming off the right side. Kyler Murray's trying to run outside the pocket. He's trying to go out there and get the huge plays, but they're not there. So now Drew Petzing has went back to being a conservative play caller, just like how he was last season with Kyler Murray. To add in some context here, this is Drew Petzing's 2nd year in the NFL calling plays for the Arizona Cardinals. He was the offensive play caller last season, and as we all know, Kyler Murray missed majority of last season as he was recovering from that ACL injury that he suffered the year before against the New England Patriots Monday Night Football game, non-contact injury. Kyler Murray needs to be better and more patient inside the pocket, but the offensive line has to be better. And this is still a rebuild if you are an Arizona Cardinals fan. Just because they had a couple of good games here and there and they had a couple of good stretches, this team still has a long ways to go with the offensive line and with the defensive line to add in on top of that. And I will talk more about the defense in the next couple of minutes. But it's more than just the offensive line that's a problem with the Arizona Cardinals in the last 3 games. It's also the fact that Kyler Murray has not taken that step just yet. Even though the offensive line is abysmal, Kyler Murray in the last 3 games, 5 interceptions to just 3 passing touchdowns, and he's not using his legs. He can be one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL on a consistent basis if Drew Petzing will find a way to go out there and let him use his legs. A lot of the scrambles are just coming out of nowhere. The one thing that Cliff Kingsbury did do right was let Kyler Murray go out there and use his legs more, similar to what the Baltimore Ravens do with Lamar Jackson. And I'm not saying that Kyler Murray has to go out there and have over 10 attempts a game, just rushing over and over again, because you do want to take care of him. You don't want him to get injured, and he did suffer an ACL injury when he was outside the pocket. But Kyler Murray is one of those quarterbacks. He could be one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL because of his rushing ability and his ability to make off-platform throws. That's why they selected him with the 1st overall pick in 2019. When I look at Drew Petzing, even though he's handcuffed right now because the offensive line is not good, we've seen Drew Petzing in the past just run the football up the middle over and over again, and it's just a bunch of dink and dunk shots down the field towards the line of scrimmage. That's it. They're not taking those huge splash plays to Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. And you can use Trey McBride in the intermediate routes because he's one of the best receiving tight ends in the NFL from last season and from this season also. So Drew Petzing is not the best offensive coordinator to have matched up with Kyler Murray. And I'm not saying fire Drew Petzing, but I do believe they have to go out there and fully evaluate his job after this season. But Kyler Murray has to be better. This is a kid that has not been placed to the best situation with the Arizona Cardinals. We all understand the Cliff Kingsbury situation. He was a terrible head coach. He may not be cut out for the NFL. He's struggling right now with the Washington Commanders as an offensive coordinator. But they have put some talent around Kyler Murray in the past. Let's not just make a bunch of excuses for Kyler Murray. We've seen him play with DeAndre Hopkins when they made the trade to get him from the Houston Texans. A groundbreaking trade. They traded David Johnson for him. And DeAndre Hopkins did miss some time dealing with a knee injury, but when he was on the field, it was still an awkward fit. And I remember it just like it was yesterday when they had that win over the Buffalo Bills. It was a Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins. We've seen Kyler Murray have Christian Kirk. He was never a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, but he was solid enough to go out there and help out Kyler Murray in crucial situations. He now has one of the best power backs in the NFL in James Conner. So they have put talent around Kyler Murray. It just hasn't fully worked out just yet. And I'm not saying that Kyler Murray is a bust, but he has been very underwhelming. This is a man that was selected with the first overall pick, and he's not in year 3 or year 4 in his career. This is a man that's on his second contract, and they gave him a massive contract extension. Now, you ask me right now, is he worth that contract extension? No, but I can say that with almost every other quarterback in the NFL, a lot of quarterbacks are overpaid. That's just how the market is. But they have to continue to build this team around Kyler Murray, especially with the offensive line. And I like Jonathan Gannon as a head coach. This is just year 2 with him as a head coach, but he did a lot of good things last season, and he's done some good things this season also. Let's not let this get lost in the context here. They defeated the San Francisco 49ers this year. They went out there, they had an impressive outing against other teams as well, top-tier teams in the NFL. They're just a couple pieces away from going out there and possibly winning this division. But them lose to the Seattle Seahawks, those were some huge blows, especially with the fact that Kyler Murray did not step up in those 2 games. He had an interception that went for a pick 6 in the first matchup and 2 interceptions in the second game. And he almost had 3. He had a terrible pass in the red zone to Marvin Harrison Jr. And speaking of Marvin Harrison Jr., this was a man they selected in the first round this year's draft class. I do believe that he can have the same skill set as a guy like Larry Fitzgerald. He can be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL for many years to come. The problem right now with Marvin Harrison Jr., he's struggling to separate, and he's not the best 50-50 target to have on the field just yet. We've seen him go out there and make crazy catches against the New York Jets and against the Chicago Bears. But Kyler Murray, is a read and react quarterback. When I look at Kyler Murray, he's more so of a guy that looks at the wide receiver. If he's open, he's going to deliver the football there. That's why Drew Passing also is putting him in a dink and dunk situation. When Kyler Murray sees Marvin Harrison Jr., many viewers may say, hey, just throw the football there. But you have to have the right ball placement. Russell Wilson is one of the best deep ball passers in the NFL because he puts the football where only the wide receiver can get it. Kyler Murray has not mastered that just yet. We've seen him be able to do this with DeAndre Hopkins. And I do believe in the next 2 to 3 years, they can master that down. But that comes down with repetition and chemistry. And Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't have that chemistry with Kyler Murray just yet. I still believe that he's going to be a franchise wide receiver for years to come. And they've also used him in a bunch of weird ways. They can move him around. This is a man, you can put him inside the slot. You may call me crazy, but Larry Fitzgerald, he played inside the slot for the last 3 to 4 years of his career. Marvin Harrison Jr. is 6'4". You do want him on the outside, but move him around and just get him the football. It doesn't make any sense for this man to only have 4 or 5 targets in a matchup and you're struggling to get offensive production. Look at what they did against the Los Angeles Rams. They won that game 41-10 because they went out there and they consistently gave Marvin Harrison the football over and over again in the first half. And let's not forget, against the Buffalo Bills, in week 1, they would have had the game won if Kyler Murray was able to see down the field. Marvin Harrison Jr. was wide open. It's just little situations like that that just help you lose on a consistent basis. But they get down to chemistry. I think the wide receivers will be okay, but fix this offensive line. And besides Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, the wide receivers aren't the best to have. Greg Dortch is their number 3 wide receiver. Greg Dortch is the number 4, number 5 at best. A very good depth piece. That's it. Not a consistent starter. Michael Wilson, I think he's a very good player. He's not a true number 2. He'll be better as a number 3 wide receiver, but right now that's the best they have. So you only have 2 top targets for Kyler Murray and Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr., who is very inconsistent with his ability to go out there and fully separate. The running backs, I like what they have. They went out there, they extended James Conner for a reason. James Conner is a very good power back, had over 1,000 yards rushing last season. Right now, he is struggling in the last 3 to 4 games. Against the Seattle Seahawks in their second encounter, he did play better. But the problem with power backs, not every power back is going to be quick getting out of the backfield. You need to open up rushing lanes because most power backs, they're better when they're able to go out there and hit someone and they can bounce off of tackles. James Conner is very good. He's an underrated player, but in order to fully see him hit his full ceiling, with the Arizona Cardinals long term, you have to work on the interior of this offensive line. He's not a speed back. And we've seen Amari go out there and have big moments. He's the backup running back with the Arizona Cardinals. Right now, he's dealing with injury. He had a major play against the Chicago Bears right before halftime. And you look at Trey Benson. You drafted him in this year's draft class. He's a solid running back. So the running backs, they're good. You just have to work on this offensive line and hope that Drew Petzing will be a better offensive coordinator. Personally, I don't like Drew Petzing. I can see them moving off of Drew Petzing, but we will see. Their defense. This is what Jonathan Gannon is known for. Fixing defenses, because he was a great defensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. He helped the Philadelphia Eagles go to that Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. And he got a lot of flack because defensive players could not sack Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. But that entire year, the Philadelphia Eagles had the best defense in the NFL. When I look at the Arizona Cardinals defense right now, they're missing so many key pieces to fully go out there and help out Jonathan Gannon in this scheme. They're missing an edge rusher. B.J. Ojulari has missed this entire year, and he was a rookie last season, and he only had 4 sacks. They drafted him out of LSU in the second round. You drafted Darius Robinson this year in the first round. He's missed pretty much all of this season. His first game was against the Minnesota Vikings. He only played a couple of snaps, and he only played a few snaps against the Seattle Seahawks. But he has potential to be a top edge rusher with the Arizona Cardinals, but it's going to take time. Besides that, your top edge rusher is Xavier Collins, and Xavier Collins is a former middle linebacker. This is a man that was a linebacker coming out of college. They don't know what the hell to do with him. It's similar to what they had with Isaiah Simmons. Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? They just cut bait. They traded him to the New York Giants. But I look at Xavier Collins right now. If he's your best edge rusher, you're in trouble. And this defense hasn't been bad. We've seen this defense go out there and give you good production because of the scheme with Jonathan Gannon. But the players are not the best. Sean Murphy-Bunting is one of your starting corners. He's not a good starting corner in the NFL. I'm sorry to tell you, especially for this season. But you have better pieces around him, like Garrett Williams, who is a very good player, and he's going to continue to be a good player moving forward. Sterling Thomas, I like him a lot at the cornerback position. Budda Baker is a veteran safety. He's not having the same impact that he once had, but he's a very good tackler, and he's very good against tight ends. He's more so of an in-box safety. He's not a single high safety anymore. You have Mack Wilson Sr. and Kazir White, and you made a trade to bring in Baron Browning from the Denver Broncos. So when I look at this situation with the Arizona Cardinals, you need to fix your trenches. And that's a tell-all-less time in the NFL. If you don't have the right offensive line pieces and the right defensive line pieces, you're not going to win many games in this league. And we've seen this over the last 3 games. The reason why they lost this to the Seattle Seahawks the last 2 times, they haven't been able to protect Kyler Murray, and he had a lot of dumb interceptions in those matchups. And against the Minnesota Vikings, you were right there with the Minnesota Vikings. Instead of going forward on a pivotal 4th and goal, Jonathan Gannon wants to kick the field goal. They go up by 6 points. The Minnesota Vikings go down there. They scored a touchdown. You have to be more aggressive if you're Jonathan Gannon, and you have to believe in Kyler Murray and your offense. He is a conservative head coach, and I understand why. Your offense on that day was not looking that great until the second half, but Kyler Murray scored a touchdown in the 3rd quarter. You believe in him. It's the reason why you're paying him that much money, and you go with him. And if your offense can't go out there and score, that's fine. You put your defense into a better situation. Hey, Sam Darnold, let's go out there and let's do it again, but we're going to make you drive 80 yards this time. So instead of taking the field goal in that situation, they should have went for it. If you go for it, you're up by 10 points. If you get the touchdown in that situation, instead of just being up by 6 points. They were up by 6 points. The Minnesota Vikings went down there. They scored a touchdown. They kicked the extra point. They won that game by 1 point. The Arizona Cardinals are just a couple pieces away from fully contending in this division, and I know it hurts if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan because it's the same song and dance every single year, but I really like what the general manager has done over the last few years. I like Jonathan Gannon as a head coach. We'll see what Drew Petzing can do as an offensive coordinator long term, but that's the only guy that I have questions about on this coaching staff. Besides that, the Arizona Cardinals are going to be okay. Is Kyler Murray a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? No. But I do believe that Kyler Murray is solid enough to get you to a certain point to where you can be okay. They need to fix his offensive line and get some edge rushers to help out Jonathan Gannon. And I think that he would give you a great return on your investment. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Arizona Cardinals, and have they fully hit a wall in your opinion? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.